Hello, boys and girls. This is Mr. N. Welcome back to library class. I hope you guys had a great week this week of teaching and learning. But as you guys know, it is time to get back to some reading. All right. So last week, remember, guys, I told you for the next couple of weeks, because I know school is almost over, we'll be doing our book series. Okay. And the book that we focused on is what? Curious George. We started the first official book last week of Curious George, telling us about his life, right? How he became Curious George. So this week we're going to focus more about his adventurous life, okay? So today we're going to focus on his big dream, all right? We're going to focus on his big dream. All right, let's get started, guys. All right, the title of this book is called Curious George's Dream. And remember, the author is Margaret and H.A. Rays. Let's get to reading. All right. It says, "This is George." Everybody say, "Hi, George." Say, "What's up, George?" George was a good little monkey and always very curious. After a long day at the amusement park with his friend, the man with the yellow hat, George was tired and glad to be home. Soon dinner was ready, but when George sat down to eat, he was too small to reach his plate. "I'm sorry, George," the man said. "I forgot to fix your chair." Oh, I feel bad for him, guys. Do you guys feel bad he can't reach his food? He put a large book on George's chair and George climbed up. As he sat down on the book that was set on his chair, George thought about his day. All day long, he had been too small. Guys, does he look happy or sad? I think he looks very, very sad, right? Why does he look sad, guys? Because he's been what? Very small. "Your hands are too little to hold these baby bunnies," the manager of the petting zoo told him. "I'm sorry," said the man operating the carousel. "I cannot let you on. You need a grown up to ride with you." "Wow. Maybe next year," said the man taking tickets at the roller coaster. Wow, look at all these things he went through at the zoo, guys. As you can see, there's one common denominator on this whole picture. What is it, guys? Over here, what? He was too small to pet. Over here, he was too small to get on a ride without an adult. And over here, he was too small to get on a roller coaster. So, guys, George is not feeling too happy right now because he is so small and can't do nothing, okay? But after a good meal and a good dessert, George began to feel better. When the dishes were finished, the man says, "George, I have a surprise for you." And they went into the living room. What do you guys think the surprise is? Because I think George needs something to make him happy, right? The surprise was a movie. George was glad to watch a movie. That was something he was not too small to do. George was enjoying the movie, but it had been a full day and now he had a full stomach. Soon, he could not keep his eyes open. The next thing George knew, he was back at the petting zoo. Guys, how did he get to the petting zoo so quick? Are you guys thinking what I'm thinking? Is it because of the dream that he's having while he was sleeping? Let's see. He was back at the petting zoo, but this time something was different. The petting zoo was very small. In fact, everything was small. George looked around. Then he looked at himself. Maybe everything wasn't so small after all, he thought. Maybe he was. Do you guys notice the difference between now that he's at the petting zoo and when he in the old picture when he was at the petting zoo? What's the difference that you guys see? Did George look a little bit bigger? Yes, he does, right? Why? Because he's dreaming. Okay, he's dreaming that he is this big of a monkey at this point, okay? But let's see what's going to happen next in his dream. Big? Uh-oh, this is not right, thought George. Then he remembered the bunnies. Why he was not too small to hurt a bunny now? He was not too small to do anything. What fun, George thought. and he went to the bunny hutch. Now George could hold lots of bunnies, and he cuddled them to his face. The bunnies like George. Look at him, guys. Remember the first time he couldn't hold the bunnies, right? But now he can because he got bigger in his dream. But the manager of the petting zoo did not put those bunnies down, she said. You will scare them. You are too big. George didn't want to scare the bunnies, so he put them down and turned to go. Was she being mean to him, guys, telling him to put it down? I think so. Then George saw the roller coaster. He was curious. Was he big enough to ride it now? Of course he was big enough. If only he could find a seat big enough for him. But the man taking tickets made George leave. You cannot ride this ride, he said. You are too big. George was sad he could not ride, but he did as he was told. So as you guys can see, guys, although he's bigger, he's still not getting his way, right? Why isn't he getting his way right here? Because he was bigger. Because he was bigger than a roller coaster and he can't fit it. And also, as you guys can see, he was too big to hold the bunny because he thought, what, he would scare them. So things are still not going his way, guys. Let's see what's going to happen next. Catch that monkey, someone yelled as George was leaving the roller coaster. He's dangerous. People in the park became frightened. They began to run. They ran in all directions, but mostly they ran away from George. George felt awful. He didn't want to frighten anyone. Guys, this is not fair. They all running away from him like he's a scary monster. He just wanted to hide, but where could he go? He was too big to fit anywhere. Then George saw the carousel. He wouldn't need a grown-up to get on with him this time, but this time George wished he had a grown-up with him. He wished his friend were here. George sat on the carousel feeling lonely. Suddenly, someone called his name. George! George! It sounded like the man with the yellow hat. Could his friend be here to take him home? George heard his name again. It was his friend. George wanted to jump into his friend's arms, but the man with the yellow hat was too small. How could he ever take George home now? The man called his name again. George, he said, wake up. It's time for bed. You fell asleep watching a movie. George looked at his friend. Why he wasn't small after all? George looked at himself. He was not big. Now George could jump into his friend's arm, and that is what he did. As the man with the yellow hat tucked him in, George was happy to be in his bed. It was not very big, he thought, but he fit in it perfectly. George was just the right size. The end. All right, guys. What do you guys think about George's dream? What do you guys think? I want you guys to think. This is what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to think of a moment where any part of this movie, any event that happened in this book, not movie, guys. What happened in this book that made you think about your own life, right? Did something similar happen to you like it did with George? This is what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to complete this worksheet, okay? This is a text to self connection worksheet. You guys are going to connect George's story to your life story, okay? I want you guys to put both worlds together. So the part of the story that happened in George's life, what does it remind you of that happened in your life, okay? I'll give you an example for me, for Mr. N. Okay, an example for me is the part of the story that I could think of that's relatable to my life is when George went to the amusement park and tried to get on the roller coaster. Okay? But he was too small to get on. All right? That happened in the story, right, guys? When he went to the amusement park and tried to get on the roller coaster, but he was too small to get on, right? I remember that happened to me in my life, guys. I once went, right? I once went to a carnival when I was real young. When I was young. And I also couldn't get on the roller coaster. Just like who? George. Right, guys? Just like George. The same way that George couldn't get on the roller coaster when he was younger. I remember when I went to the carnival when I was younger, I couldn't get on the roller coaster. Okay? So that's what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to think of any event that happened in George's story, right? It could be the dream. It could be him trying to get on a roller coaster. It could be him having a best friend with the man with the yellow hat. What do you remember from this story we just read that reminds you of something that happened in your life? Okay, so you guys are gonna put what happened in the story here and remind you of what happened in your life here. Okay, so I want you guys to complete this worksheet for me. Okay. All right, guys. See you guys next week, and we'll start a new book series with Curious George. And don't forget, the last week of school, we'll be watching a movie. All right? All right, guys. See you later.